Hello, my name is Cullen, and I am here to show you my process of painting Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. As you can see, I have Donatello here. He's going to be my first miniature. I'm going to go through the various processes of painting the miniature, so stay tuned and enjoy. Thank you. Okay, on to the next stage. At this point, I am prepping the miniature for priming. There are two things that you need to do before you actually put on a primer coat. One of them is you need to wash your miniature with soap and water to get off any releasing agents that might have been left over from the manufacturing process. And two, you need to file away and smooth out any areas that might have mold lines. And as you can see, I'm using a file to do that. And as soon as I'm done, I will move on to the priming process. All right, welcome to priming. So pretty much what I do for priming is I airbrush my miniature, and with that I usually do this in two stages. First stage is a black primer. I usually use Vallejo surface primer, and then the second stage is a spray paint gray over the black on the highest parts of the miniature. Basically what this does is it creates a Zenithal highlight. Basically when you're airbrushing, you want to thin down your paints. What I usually use is Vallejo airbrush thinner. I use this for all paints and not just Vallejo. And then you put a couple of drops in there and mix it up with an old paintbrush. Make sure it's all mixed together. So next what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to start spraying small little bursts of paint onto the miniature itself. Basically I'm trying to disperse my paint across the whole figure and not just stay in one little area. Constantly want to try to keep your airbrush moving. And so what you're trying not to do is you're trying not to pull your paint. You're trying to get a smooth, even finish over the whole thing. So basically you're constantly moving your airbrush and your miniature. And you want to coat the whole thing. You don't want to leave any plastic underneath showing. Basically why you're priming your figure is you want to create a surface that the layer of paint that goes over it has something to stick to. Basically, especially for gaming miniatures, they're going to be held and played with. So basically you want to create something that the paint will hold on to and won't chip or wear off. And primer paints are especially formulated to actually adhere to surfaces, metal, plastic, whatnot. Again, I believe it's essential to prime your figure, especially if you're gaming with them. It's one of the most important stages, and if you don't prime, you'll run into problems a lot later. I find that airbrushing miniatures, priming using airbrush gives me the most control for this. And as you can see there, I have now a nice even coat on the miniature itself. So that ends the first stage of the priming technique that I use. And now let's move on to the second stage, which is the gray surface primer. Alright, we're moving on to the second part of the priming process. And basically this part entails me spray painting a gray primer over the black primer that I spray paint in the step before. Basically what this is what it's called is a Zenithal highlight. And basically what you're trying to create with this technique is you're trying to create a sense of depth by pre-shading your miniature. So basically you have your black undercoat with your white overspray, and basically what you're doing is you're creating a shadow highlight effect. What that does is it helps you in the later processes when you're either airbrushing or painting your miniature. Will give you an idea where the actual highlights and shadows should fall in your miniature. So basically what you're doing is you're kind of helping the process along, and you're taking the guesswork out of where you're supposed to put your highlights and shadows. So basically, again, you're using short bursts, constantly moving your miniature around, and you're also working up your layers. So basically, if you're spray painting over black, you want to try to create multiple layers above it to create that opacity. When you're also doing zenithal highlights, you're creating your spray painting or painting the highest points of the miniature. So one of the things you will see me do is I'm spray painting mostly around the head, the fists, and maybe the knee. As you can see, I am slowly working my highlight color up with the gray primer. Basically what I'm trying to do is get a bright highlight on the uppermost regions of the mini itself. Basically you're creating where the light is hitting the miniature fully. Alright, well, I hope you like this, and we're going to move on to our next stage, which will be base colors, creating actual base colors themselves. So thank you, and I will see you in the next video.